Jeffrey wants to impress his crush. Jessica, look, I'm in touch with my feminine side. Masculinity is so toxic. I hate Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate should be cancelled. It's okay to be weak. Jeffrey, what are you doing? Jeffrey! Have you given up your masculine birthright? Have you turned into a wimp? You do realize, Jeffrey, that no man will respect you if you're like this. Adonis actively tries to increase his masculine energy so that he can enjoy a beautiful, polarized relationship with Anastasia. He hears Jeffrey talking about toxic masculinity, and he chuckles. Jeffrey still has a lot to learn. I need to do better as a leader to help him. Over 10% of Gen Z males consider themselves to be very feminine. A lot of guys don't even realize what feminine or masculine energy is, so you might not even know if you are feminine. But understand this, if you are feminine, you will never dominate a woman. She will dominate you. Because if you are feminine, she has to be masculine. There has to be this polarity, which means that if you are feminine, she will be in charge. You'll be like the little boy that she's looking after. You'll never dominate her like some other guy may have. When I tell men this, what it means to be feminine, which is submissive, or what it means to be masculine, which is dominating, suddenly they start paying attention and they're like, oh fuck, okay, my new goal is to become more masculine. How do we do that? Well, first of all, why are so many men so feminine to begin with? Well, you can take one look around, look at the media, look at the movies, look at everything, look at the bullshit conditioning, look at the feminization of the education system. You go through school and you're taught to sit still, cross your legs, squeeze your nuts in, and not to act like a boy. The teachers, the fat, female, obese teacher sees you and your friends pushing each other in the grass, and she'll start shouting at you. You've been raised to be feminine because that is the way to be successful in the school system. The ultra masculine boys, isolation, detention, juvenile detention centers. And you might think, oh yeah, but those guys are really bad and stuff, but like, they needed our help. The true masculine men, the ultra masculine men, are either in some detention center or in prison. And you might say, yeah, well, you know, they're criminals and stuff, but they needed our help. They needed a good system that developed the healthy parts of their masculinity, that created a life for them where they didn't need to lash out. But you want to know the real reason why so many men are weak and feminine? It's because we've been living in the good times. We've been in the good times for a while. It's safe for a lot of people for a long time, right? Maybe not so much now, but for a long time we were in the good times. We were in the safe times, and that's how you've been able to see the development of weak people having a voice, because that's never been a thing before. Weak people don't deserve a voice generally, especially in harder times when we're more about survival. But when you've had a really good time, prosperous time, and there's no war in the West, you know, actually in the home territory, well then it's time, you know, we may as well give that dickhead with low testosterone a voice, and you know, he's gonna shout about feminism and stuff, and he's gonna say that masculinity is bad, and he's gonna say that Andrew Tate is toxic. People like that who are convincing you to be a little bitch have a voice right now because they're safe to do so. The good times have been here, but they're over. You know, there's been countries that have been in turmoil, you know, for the last 10, 20 years that haven't been well off. But the West has always been relatively strong and safe. And if we take one look at the UK, where I'm from, I don't live in that shithole anymore, but if we do take a look at the UK, the people there are cold. The people there are hungry. So is this not a third world country? Is it not? If the people are cold and hungry, that is a third world country. And I'm not saying, oh, you know, cold because the weather's cold. People can't afford the energy bill in the UK. They can't even afford their grocery bills. People lining up for food stamps and, you know, the food banks skyrocketing. People stood out in the cold hoping to get a loaf of bread in the UK. So when there is hard times like these, this is when you start to see the development of masculine men start to arise and actually being appreciated. When you see a man like myself telling you to become more masculine, become a stronger man. A few years ago, this was seen as a joke. I was seen as cringe, misogynistic. And now, very often, I see comments of people saying like, this is the most important thing in the world right now. This is life-changing. This is world-changing. The world needs more masculine, strong, hardworking men. That's a common sense statement, isn't it? And yet, it feels a bit toxic to say that. The world needs hardworking, strong, masculine men. It seems like I'm slightly at risk for saying that. It seems like I could potentially be cancelled for saying that. Why? Because the big companies who own the internet, who decide whether or not we have free speech, well, they've been developed in the good times, and so they still have those values. You know, feminine values of cooperation and friendliness and political correctness and stuff, because they've been able to afford those values whilst we've lived in safe, nice times. Things are changing. Even though the title of this video is that men are more feminine than ever, I'm actually beginning to realize that this is not the case anymore. I think 6 months ago, 1 year ago, this was 100% true. But with the global message that's being now spread by men like myself, like Andrew Tate, young men are waking up. We're realizing what it means to be a man. We're realizing that we want to become masculine. We're realizing that this bullshit conditioning that we went through that told us to be weak and submissive and feminine, that was going to be good for us or society, led us to want to kill ourselves. We realized that there is some evil propaganda out there, that kind of propaganda that's telling you that you should be feminine, that you should be emotional, you should open up and be vulnerable to your girlfriend. Seems like good advice, doesn't it? Makes sense, yeah, you know, she's your girlfriend, you've heard this advice before, to be feminine in front of the woman who loves you, and you slowly are waking up to the realization that that advice was pure fucking evil, that advice would lead to your demise, your loneliness. Every day, another guy will tell me the same thing, that he opened up, got vulnerable, cried in front of his girlfriend, and then the sexual attraction diminished, and they're wondering why. And as soon as they understand, in literally just one sentence, that a feminine woman can't be attracted to a masculine man who breaks down and shows his feminine side, they understand it. It's common sense. You know, every step that you take towards becoming more masculine feels right, doesn't it? Every step. You listen to these videos with some kind of nice, positive feeling inside of you. Like, a part of it hurts. A part of it pisses you off that you followed the bullshit advice from everyone else. But you listen to videos like this, and it gets you like some level of like energy and excitement, because you're like, finally, this makes sense. This is how I'm supposed to live. I'm supposed to have males around me. I'm supposed to be in male circles, male spaces. They need us now. Every young man that I meet these days tells me the exact same thing. Hamza, how can I make more money to provide for my family? Hamza, my family is struggling. How can I help them? How can I develop myself so that I can build myself up and eventually provide? We're seeing the rise of young men reclaiming their masculinity, and the world will thank us for this. Not just yet. There'll be more demonizations, there'll be more cancellations, maybe of myself, but soon, very soon in the future, when these Western companies like YouTube, Google, everything, when the Western countries start to extremely suffer, and the hard, strong, disciplined, unemotional, stoic men who have been demonized for so long come back in to help those countries, they'll celebrate the strong men just a couple of months after wanting to cancel them, because they live in safety. And these people don't even realize that their safety, their good times have been built from the strong men who have passed. So when their safety, these good times are ending now, and they're gonna experience some turmoil. They're gonna experience some hard times because they just destroyed men. They made men weak. They will experience pain because they made men feminine. Not the world, you know, it's easy for me to say, oh yeah, the world will experience pain. No, it won't. Because you do realize countries are very different. This is the scariest thing for me, and maybe it's for you. It's not that the world's men have become feminine. Go and look at the men in Russia. They're not feminine. You'll go for a handshake and they'll crush your fucking hand. There are countries out there whose men are masculine, and they're looking over at some Western countries right now just thinking, that's free lunch. That's easy over there. They've got women, they've got resources. We should probably go and take it. And we've lived in such safe times that it feels hard to believe that there's going to be a massive war. But if there is, I hope there isn't, but if there is, and the Western feminized man is going to go up against a traditional masculine man, it's going to be a fucking bloodbath. This propaganda, this weakness of masculine values, this demonization, this cancellation of masculinity in mostly the West, it is going to end very soon, because they're going to need men like us. They're going to start to praise the men who are waking up early and being disciplined, because they're going to need us. You know, as soon as the draft starts and it's time for men to be strong, and you know that, oh, your country needs you, that's when they'll want you. So far they're telling you, yeah, shut the fuck up, let's chop his dick off, let's pump him full of shit that like lowers his testosterone levels. But as soon as it's time for war, you will be praised as a warrior. I don't know what decision you'll want to make then. I don't know what decision I'll make when it comes to that. Making this video has made me realize the tides are turning as we speak. Masculinity has been demonized for so long, and I think that's about to end very soon. I can see that it's needed more than ever now, and not just for ourselves, you know, our own individual growth, but actually for the countries that we live in. They need strong masculine men, and they're beginning to realize that now. So you want to become more masculine? Click and watch this full masculinity guide. Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it.